What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chip, and I'm back at you from RVA Vapes. And today, we got another episode of Ask-A-Vaper. So, thank you all for tuning in. For those of you that don't know, this is an educational program that we have put together for you, and it's essentially a Q&A. So, I've got the chat screen open on our YouTube page here. I believe it's right... That one, yeah, right over here on my screen. I don't know where it is on your screen, but go ahead and type any of the questions that you have. And as I'm going through this stuff and kind of breaking it down and showing you what we're going to show you, we're going to stop and answer as many of those questions as we have time for. So if you're asking or if you're watching this at a later date, you can always email us at rvavapes@gmail.com. And we will try to do the best we can to get back to your questions then. That being said, we're going to roll right into this. So, I've got some new toys that I'm playing with, so bear with me if it's a little glitchy or not happening the way you want it to right off the bat, because we're trying to upgrade our experience here at RVA Vapes, so hopefully you guys will be able to see what we're seeing, and then you can check it out with us. So, the first thing we got here is our advocacy update. So, I know a lot of you have seen in the news and read things about the FDA rated Juul labs, blah, blah, blah. First and foremost, we definitely want to squash all those rumors. According to vaping360.com, which you can see is the website that I'm on here, this was a fairly routine tobacco manufacturer inspection, as you see right here. This is something that the FDA is going to be doing to pretty much every vape or e-liquid manufacturer at some point in time here in the next coming years. I myself have actually received a phone call from these guys, and pretty much everything it says in these couple paragraphs here has been my experience as well. Basically that, you know, they're coming by, checking out, seeing basically in a fact-finding mode, as it were, to try and collect as much information as they can. Obviously, Juul holding, 20 to 25% of the market in vaping, depending on who you ask. Definitely is probably the biggest bullseye in the whole deal, but clearly says right here that it was part of a ongoing effort to prevent youth use of tobacco products, particularly e-cigarettes, on unannounced on-site inspection, which when I talked to the representative at the FDA I talked to, they specifically said they don't set appointments. They just try to get an idea of when you're going to be there, when the inspectors can come and talk to somebody there. It's also added that they collected it was said that they seized over 1,000 documents. In reality, as you can see down here, more than likely they just provided copies of documents that the FDA requested, which is fairly commonplace in this type of thing. If you read so on and so forth, it basically just says the same thing I said. Right here they sold 16.2 million devices in 2017, so they do have a pretty big target on their back. And as you can see here, it's not necessarily as scary as everybody was making it out to be. But they did have this little piece that was kind of interesting. FDA gave Juul 60 days to show the agency how it would prevent teen use. And earlier this year, the FDA demanded to see documents related to marketing, research, health, toxicology, behavioral, or psychological effects of the products, including inhalation and use. This is nothing new. This is stuff they've said that they were going to ask for and have asked for in the past. So it's definitely not anything out of the ordinary in my particular opinion. Take that for what it's worth. Then our buddy Greg Connolly right here had a funny little video that he posted, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. Then it talks about some flavor stuff down here. Now it says that, in an interview, they were asked why Juul didn't get rid of flavors. and they said it was on the table, but he qualified saying that haven't seen any evidence that flavors led to teen usage. And that's kind of the whole consensus that a lot of us in the vape industry have had. It's not particularly well received by the FDA, but it is something that we've talked about and we've looked at and spoke with people about, including those at the FDA. And that's what a lot of the commenting portion over the last 6 to 12 months was about, just talking about that kind of stuff, and just trying to let the FDA know that flavors do help quite a bit. So just want to set the record straight on that whole situation. Now, the next thing we've got here is a report, and this is basically, it's from late in September, but we missed our episode last month, so we wanted to try and backtrack a little bit to it. But this is an interesting article because what it talks about is they've already been considering at the FDA flavor bans, and they say flavors are a leading contributor to why the youth are interested in e-cigarettes. So that's something that they've been looking at. It says right here, clearly something we're looking at now. But at an event that our friend Greg Connolly with the American Vaping Association was at, they also mentioned, here we go, the FDA, that's where I'm reading from, FDA's drastic action to halt vaping trends, including possibly eliminating e-cigarette flavors. We already saw that. Instituting immediate pre-market reviews of existing products, which they said was the 2022 new deadline that they pushed it back to. But here's the other thing that's really weird. This part right here, the agency is spending $60 million of your tax dollars for a anti-vaping campaign? What is that about? Like, I get it that, you're trying to prevent the youth, but if you look at other countries, specifically like the UK, they're promoting vaping. So spending our tax dollars, $60 million on anti-vaping, I don't really think is what I elected my personal officials and representatives to do. So that's definitely something that I'm going to be keeping in mind coming up to the elections next month. So if any of you guys out there are kind of as unhappy and miffed about this as I am, I would definitely make a point to reach out to the people that are running in your particular area and try to find out their thoughts on this. Because the FDA does answer to Congress. They don't answer to anybody else, but they do have to get their funding approved by Congress and do a lot of their backside, like new rules and stuff like that. They do have to get approved by Congress. So I'm definitely going to make sure that I don't forget this particular statistic as these elections are coming up. But I digress. Flavors are the number one issue, says Greg Connolly. If you do not have flavors, you will not have adults switching to these products. You can just get rid of the entire category if you don't have a flavor available. And I personally really agree with Greg on that. We have met Greg quite a few times and talked to him very candidly and at other different events. We really appreciate all the hard work that he does, but I think he hit the nail on the head right there with that one. And then there's the survey that Dr. Farsalinos out in Greece, that our buddy Dimitri helped put together. I don't know if he helped secure funding, exactly what he did, but I know he helped with this study. It showed that vapors prefer fruit and dessert flavors over other choices like tobacco. So that right there says that, most vapors want some sort of fruit or desserty, savory type flavor, even more than tobacco. That's part of the entire niche, as it were, or part of the entire appeal of the e-cigarettes, is it tastes way better than smoking. So getting rid of things like that and those flavors is particularly worrisome to me. But the reason I brought up this article is because of this right here. It says an online sales ban would require the FDA to go through its usual rulemaking process, as the agency is doing now for flavors. Another possibility of the FDA would be to request Congress amend current law that restricts online sales, including vapor products. A ban on online sales would have a huge advantage to Juul and vapor products made by Big Tobacco, because these products are widely available in convenience stores, tobacco shops, and gas stations, and because they depend less on flavors than e-liquid manufacturers. Prohibition of online sales would also drive up prices and would lead to large-scale DIY and black market e-liquids. This paragraph right here. Now, I personally have, I see both sides of the fence on this particular issue. If your initial goal is strictly to try to inhibit the sale of these products to minors, I don't necessarily have that big a problem with it. We do have an online store here at RVA Vapes, and it would definitely hurt my pockets if this went into effect. But I also feel like a lot of the underage access that is being granted to e-cigarette devices, I hope is not coming from brick and mortar vape shops like us, because I know we're very strict about carding people that come in here, but you can't do the same thing over the internet. And I know that part of the law is that you're supposed to have a third-party age verification system in place on your website, which we do have on ours, but I'm not so sure that everybody's following that, maybe, or people have found ways around it. I mean, there's always ways to beat technology, so I'm not sure. I'm not going to speak out of turn because I don't know specifically. But I do know that seems to be the biggest loophole in this whole underage acquisition of vapor products. I know my daughter's in high school, and she, definitely has friends of hers that have gotten access to these products. And I know they didn't come from my shop, and I hope they didn't come from any of my competitors' shops. So that really only leaves me with shady gas stations, head shops, or buying it online. And all three of those, there's not much that we can do anything about, except for the online part. That's the only one. So I also see the other side of this coin, that for a lot of you out there, you prefer to shop online for the convenience of it. That's why we at RVA Vapes have an e-shop or e-commerce website. I don't know how many people that's going to affect, because you do have a lot of people that don't have access to a good brick and mortar vape shop, or live somewhere where it's just a pain to get to their favorite vape shop. And I would hate to say that I support something that's going to keep people from being able to continue to get their vape products and continue to stay off of traditional tobacco by shopping online. I mean, Amazon's the biggest company in the world because they took the supermarket and Walmart and put it online. So obviously that there's a demand there for that. So I'm not really sure how I feel about it, because I see both sides of this particular issue. You know what I mean? But I definitely see that being the biggest thing that we could do with regards to keeping youth access to vapor products limited, is definitely shutting down online. But at what cost, I think, is my biggest concern with it, because I do know people that live not close to a vape shop, and I would hate to see them have to go back to cigarettes or get into DIY, black market e-liquids and stuff like that, because if you don't know what you're doing, you could seriously hurt yourself. But again, how would you be able to even buy those, DIY products if you can't buy them off the internet? So I don't know. That's kind of a sticky situation, as it were. But that's just the latest of what I've been hearing. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was up on it, because, we like to keep you guys abreast of all the latest and greatest in the world of vaping. So that's our advocacy update for this lovely month of October. I don't see any comments or any questions about that stuff. It's pretty self-explanatory, straightforward kind of stuff. So I didn't imagine there would be, but we're going to keep on rolling since there's no questions about that, and get into some other areas of discussion. Now, this next segment is what I like to call common misconceptions. Now, this particular segment has kind of changed and evolved a little bit over the last couple of years that we've been doing this show. But I think we finally got a good format that works, not only for us to be able to provide something that's helpful to everybody, but also for you guys out there, because we try really hard to kind of, hit the nail on the head. And I'm looking for the damn tank that I was going to use for this particular demonstration, but I can't seem to put my hands on it. So we're going to use this one instead. And hopefully I don't make a mess and spill this juice everywhere. We'll see. All right, so let me paint a picture for you. Now, you're walking into your favorite vape shop, or you buy some coils online, whatever it is that you do, and you take the first coil out the box. You're super excited because you've been vaping on a burnt coil for like 2 or 3 days, and you maybe rush it a little bit on the priming part of it. Go ahead, put it in there, do your little priming ritual, which for me looks very similar to something like this. I hope there's a coil in this box, otherwise I'm gonna look like a damn fool. Success! All right, so taking my coil out. Jesus, come on. Do 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 do. It's only because I'm on camera. If I would have worked this out beforehand, then it would have came out in one fell swoop. All right, so got my brand new coil right here. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is see how you got the fluffy white cotton down inside there. And I know this is rookie stuff, day one stuff, guys, but stick with me here. So you see down in there, you got your fluffy white cotton and then that mesh coil all the way around. So I'm gonna take my e-liquid and I'm gonna go ahead and prime it. So what I'm doing is I'm holding the coil at about a 45-degree angle. Without my fat fingers in the way, you can see better there. And then I'm gonna drip 3 or 4 drops down here, turn it, 3 or 4 more drops, give it another quarter turn or so. Then I'm gonna do 3 or 4 more drops, and then one last quarter turn, 3 or 4 more drops. And if you hold it at an angle like this, then you don't have to worry about the juice squirting out the bottom. And once I hold it straight up and down, I can kind of spin it. And you can see the large cotton wicking channels on all 4 sides. They still look like fresh, white, fluffy, brand new cotton to me. So that means I'm gonna give it another round. 2 or 3 drops, spin it. 2 or 3 more drops, spin it again. 2 or 3 more drops, and then I hold it back up. And I can see that it's starting to turn whatever color my e-liquid is. In this case, it's kind of a yellowish or orangish type color. So then I know if the outsides are saturated, then the inside must be saturated. So I don't need to put juice on the outside. I don't have to do any of that. All I do now is take my coil and screw it into my tank. Now, I think this is where some of us are getting a little lost or confused or having issues. Because if I did all that right, so far, I'm good to go. But the next step is to put the coil in the tank. Every tank and device have a different relationship because not all tanks have the same amount of threads. So what that means is some tanks have a thicker post down here with threads on it than other tanks do. For example, and this is literally just the 2 tanks that are sitting in front of me. There's nothing special or funky going on here. But let's look at it like this. If I hold these guys up butt to butt, you can see they're very similar. But this one has a slight bit more threading than this one does. So that means that this one is going to go further down to touching this pin than this one will, and vice versa. So if I have this tank on my device with the shorter 510 and I'm switching to this tank with the longer 510, and the device itself, even though it's got this spring-loaded pin in here, if it's not brand new or I let juice get down in there, the pin could be stuck down a little further. So it may not spring back up all the way to connect with the shorter tank. So I can just take a pin or any kind of non-metallic pointy object and just kind of push that little spring-loaded pin in there. And if I push it a couple of times, if it was stuck down in there, it should spring back up all the way. So if I get a new atomizer or a no atomizer reading when I put the brand new tank on with the brand new coil, that's one way to fix it. If that doesn't fix it, then I'm going to look at the actual tank itself. Because I'm not sure if you guys have noticed this, but pretty much all tanks nowadays have what you call a protruding firing pin or 510 connection. So you can see on this right here, that gold pin that's sticking out, it actually sits up above that threading. That has to sit above that threading for it to make a connection with my vape device, because that means this positive pin is actually touching the positive or the power pin right there. If this part's not sticking up, then that's not going to have a connection. It's going to read low atomizer. It doesn't have to stick up as far as this one does. As long as it sticks up a 0.5 millimeter or a nanometer or whatever the smallest amount it could stick up without being flush in there, that's all you need. But every one of these devices has a different depth of thread in here. So it may be a difference between this one not coming out all the way or this one not sticking out of the thread pattern all the way. In either case, if we take the tank off, which I can't do because this one has friggin' juice in it. I know I've got an empty tank back here somewhere. I guess not. But in either case, if we take the tank all the way apart, then clean out this bottom piece right here that the coil screws into, and then screw it back down in there, that should fix the problem, because chances are the coil just wasn't quite tight enough to go all the way down to make this bottom pin stick out. That's another way to solve it. The other way to solve it is that if that still doesn't work after that, what you can do... Almost broke the tank there. Let me put this back on my mod before I drop it and break the glass. So the other trick you can do is if you pull this pin out down here just a little bit, that's even a little bit too much to be honest with you. If you pull that bottom pin out right there, let me do it this way. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. You see how it's pulled out right in this area right here? If I pull that out just a smidge like so, and now screw that back into my tank, if it needs that extra distance to travel, it will do that. And it's still connecting to the actual heating element inside here, so that's not a big deal. But that just extends your connection that much further to allow that pin underneath the tank to stick out just a little bit more. And that's a very easy fix for anybody that's got a brand new coil that thinks it's a dud, but it's really just not making a solid connection one all the way around. So that is kind of one of the biggest common misconceptions, is that people get bad coils all the time. And in reality, one of those 3 or 4 little tricks is going to fix that problem. There's not actually anything wrong with the coil. What's going on is sometimes they'll cut the threads a little bit shorter, or they'll cut them a little bit longer, or you may not have the tank completely screwed together tight. And it doesn't have to be like wrench tight, but it does have to be snug. You know, these tanks are getting more and more advanced, and if everything's not good and snug put together, then you're going to have little gaps, and a little gap here plus a little gap here plus a little gap here. By the time you get all the way down to the bottom of this pin at the end of the whole combination, you're not going to have that little bit of pin sticking out like it's supposed to be right there, and that's going to cause it not to make a connection, which is making it read no atomizer and making you think that you got a bad coil, when in reality it's probably something as simple as it just needs an extra little oomph to it. I know my wife all the time, same thing with the jars of pickles and the jars of tomato sauce. It's the same idea. Grab yourself one of them little rubber things, or I use my undershirt a lot of times, and just make sure you get a good final crank on there to make sure it's all snug and put together. And then that'll give you the extra little millimeter or two to make the pin stick out. And then you put it on your vape device, and instead of reading no atomizer, you get life. And then we're back to vaping. So that's my common misconception for the month. You know, every month I rack my brain trying to come up with something that's going to be helpful and useful. And a lot of times it's very simple, basic, day one type stuff. But the most useful stuff is most of the time. And trying to get, I had 2 or 3 customers just in the last 2 weeks had that same type of scenario where they bought a coil and they didn't put it in right in front of us, or they left, went home, day or two later tried to put the coil in, and it still had the same type of problem where it's not reading, or it's reading low atomizer, which basically means it's not making a solid connection between the coil and the vape device. So by deconstructing the tank, cleaning everything out, putting it back together in the proper fashion, making sure it's snug, fix the problem all 3 times. And if it's something that simple, I'd much rather put it out there during one of our shows and let everybody know it's a very simple process. It's a very simple solution. But if that saves you 5 minutes or keeps you from having the same low atomizer problem because you're now aware of what to look for to make sure everything works properly, then that's the whole point of this show. We want to make sure that everybody is properly educated and knows what to do or what they can do to help increase their vaping experience. So let's take some questions. All right. Okay, so as far as the online sale ban, that's just something that the FDA put out there through a couple of interviews. There's no proposed rule or anything like that. It's just something they're kicking the idea around, so don't get scared off on that. Yes, this is a baby V2 tank, and I'm enjoying it very much. We posted a review about this, I want to say 2 weeks ago. So after we're done here, just check out the videos or the playlist on our YouTube channel, and you can see all of our reviews. We do put up new reviews every Saturday, so make sure you subscribe to our channel, and then you'll get notifications about that. Yes, the giveaway. So on our last review this past Saturday, we did a review for this guy, the AIO Mansion, and we are going to be doing the live giveaway for that tonight. It's going to be at the end of the show, so just stay tuned if you want a chance to win that guy. It's a pretty cool little device. I don't think it's necessarily something we're going to sell here, and if you watch the review, that'll explain to you why. But they sent us a couple of extras, so we're going to give one away to one of our lovely YouTube subscribers in hopes that you will tell your friends, and then we can get more YouTube subscribers. Because apparently that's what the whole world revolves around now. Who would have known? What else we got? Oh, my shirt stands for Head Norwegian in Charge, because I'm half Norwegian, so just putting that out there. I've been asked if it stands for other things, and I don't particularly use that word, but if someone uses that word to me, I don't have a problem with it. But that's a whole nother conversation, neither here nor there. Okay. So, yeah, the last thing on the tanks that I do want to talk about is you want to make sure you put your tank together from the bottom up. So what that means is a lot of people will, when they're taking these tanks apart, they'll screw the coil into the chimney part that connects this piece. And that's kind of backwards, because you want to make sure it's screwed into the bottom here, because that's where it's making the good connection. If you screw the coil into the base of the tank, then you know it's going to be down here as far as possible, so it'll stick that little connecting pin out. Then you are going to put the glass on it, and then screw this top piece on top of everything to kind of compress it down and squeeze this glass so that the glass isn't loose and you don't have any leaking problems. Thank you for mentioning that. It's like our one of our fan favorites here at RV Vape, Seth, always says there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. And that's kind of the whole premise behind this show, honestly, is that we want to make sure people have the right information. So that if you have the right information, then that allows you to do the best you can with your stuff. And the less finicky it is, the less problematic your vape is, the more you're going to enjoy it, and the easier it's going to be to stay off the stinkies. So that's really all we're trying to do here, is to give you the best possible information that we have. Alrighty then. So, since there's no other questions, we're going to move it right along here. And we're going to talk about some of the new stuff we got here at RVA Vapes. This is some new flavors. You know, we've had the Casadaga line for about 1.5 years now, and it's been a really good seller for us. It's probably the best cannoli flavor I've ever had. And shout out to John. It's the original cannoli flavor. So if you've never had a cannoli flavor, or you've had some that you didn't like, I would definitely check out the cannoli B Reserve and the cannoli B1 are the two originals that we've got there. But we've also added in the past month or so the ADV line, and that's the picture at the top and the bottom that you see there. Now, ADV is actually a collaboration between John from Casadaga and I want to say Paul is his name, but I could be wrong, the owner of Beantown. They are good friends that have been working together for a long time, and they decided to collaborate on this ADV line. There's also, so you've got the Honey Mellow, which is the honey nut cereal, marshmallows, graham cracker, and just a hint of ripe banana. Now, depending on who you talk to, some people taste the banana, some people don't taste the banana. But I've found at higher temperatures, you get less of the banana, where at lower temperatures, the banana stands out a little bit more. But it's basically like a honey nut Cheerio kind of thing with a marshmallow graham cracker vibe. But it's really good. It's not overly sweet. And it's a great savory breakfast dessert kind of vibe. So if you haven't checked that out, you like honey flavors or you like cereal flavors, I would definitely recommend it. If you're looking for a banana flavor, it's worth a try, but don't be expecting a huge banana on the inhale, because it definitely comes in at the very tail end of the flavor. The other one we've got is called Solely Cannoli, and I think this might be their most popular one in the ADV line. It's a light decadent tiramisu and cannoli. So this actually has the cannoli B1 from Casadaga as its base. And then they took the Soul Custardy, which is one of Beantown Vapor's most popular flavors, and kind of mashed them up together. It's a really good savory dessert flavor. It sounds like it would be super rich, but that's why it says in the very beginning a light decadent tiramisu, because it's not overbearing at all. It's a very well-balanced tiramisu, cannoli, pastry, dessert, kind of vibe to it. And if you like any of that or all of it, I would highly recommend checking it out. Any of the Casadaga or ADV stuff, they've been super popular here. And if you can't get into the store, you can always check them out on shop.rvavapes.com. Our web store does have them all available for purchase. So if you haven't tried them, your local shop doesn't carry them, whatever the case may be, do yourself a favor and pick one up for sure. Next up on our new debut stuff, we're looking at Cichwid. Now, Cichwid is from our good friend Chris, who came down for the National Vapor Expo pre-party. He was here in the shop, hanging out, talking to everybody, and we actually learned quite a bit from Chris. So the Bosphorus is a Turkish-style pistachio ice cream. It's actually described more as like a gelato, depending on who you ask, but I definitely get that rich, creamy finish to it. And this one, I believe, was actually patterned after a pistachio ice cream that he got when he lived in Florida. It was this place in Orlando. I forget the name of it at the time, but he said it was the only pistachio ice cream that that really kind of did it for him. I guess he likes pistachio ice cream. So basically, he set out to replicate this in a vape flavor. And if you have never had pistachio or are not particularly a fan of nutty pistachio, don't let that deter you, because this is definitely one of the best, if not the best, pistachio nut kind of flavors I've ever had. And that's not one of my like top profiles that I look for, so it's not something that I would seek out per se, but it's definitely one of the best ice cream flavors I've ever had. It's got that really rich, savory ice cream gelato kind of finish to it, and it's completely unique, unlike any other, frozen custard ice cream gelato type of vape I've ever had before. The next one is Crispies. Now, Crispies is a multiple award-winning flavor. It won Best of Show and it won Best Dessert, and it's a butterscotch caramel rice crispy treat. And this is actually patterned after something Chris's mom used to make for him, and he'd send it to him in care packages. So I know this one is very near and dear to his heart. It's also the most popular flavor in their line. The Rice Krispie treat is not overly sweet. The butterscotch and caramel are very well balanced, so nothing really stands out. It's kind of all working together at the same time, and it is truly amazing. If any of that sounds good to you, I highly recommend picking up a bottle. Crispies is a standout crowd favorite. The next one you got there is Smeech. It is a creamy peach and mango smoothie. And again, not like any other smoothie flavor I've ever had. Peach smoothies a lot of times can be very artificial or kind of perfumey tasting, but this one is dead on. Tastes like no other smoothie I've had, tastes like no other peach mango that I've had, and it all works together really, really well. The cool thing about this flavor is that it's great for like a desserty with a little bit of fruit, or a full-on like cool winter refreshing savory type of flavor. It covers all those bases. Personally, I think this is probably my favorite flavor out of the Cichwood line, but it's definitely unlike any other smoothie flavor I've had. And again, we have all of these at shop.rvavapes.com, so you can log on there and purchase them. If you buy over $75, we give you free shipping. So if you get a bottle of, Soli Cannoli, get a bottle of Smeech or Crispies, you're only a pack of coils or, another bottle of juice away from free shipping. So definitely take advantage of that. The other thing that I'll tell you that's kind of a inside scoop, if you will, is there's a glazed apple cinnamon fritter that Cichwood makes that may be coming to RVA Vapes real soon. It just came out like a month ago, and I've been trying to get my hands on a bottle, but everywhere's sold out. It just like Chris didn't even get any. He got like 3 bottles for himself, and the rest of it was already sold before it was finished being made. So if any of you guys have tried it, feel free to chime in. Let me know how it tastes. I just found myself a bottle or two today, so our friends at Giant Vape are shooting some down to me that I'm going to try like Thursday or Friday this week. And if it's what I think it is, there's a really good possibility you'll be seeing it at RVA Vapes real soon. But we'll get back to that later. So the last thing that we're going to talk about tonight is a fun little project that was cooked up by some of the craziest people in the vape community, and that is Pumpkin Wars. So they did a Pumpkin Wars before. I don't remember exactly what all the details were on it, but at the time, we here at RVA Vapes had our own locally made pumpkin flavor that was really, really popular called Pumpkin Guts. Pumpkin Guts since then has kind of lost a little bit of its luster to a lot of our customers. So when we found out about this idea, we jumped on board with both feet. So what's going on here is we started Pumpkin Wars back October 1, I want to say, maybe even the last week of September. And Pumpkin Wars is 3 different e-liquid manufacturers competing head to head with their best pumpkin flavor. And we, as vape consumers and vapors, get to pick which one we like the best. And at the end of the year, they will crown a Pumpkin King. So, the Pumpkin Wars 2 contestants that we've got here are Dinesh Hallowed Bean, and that is a pumpkin spice latte. It's very well rounded. It's got a good creamy coffee note to it. It's not overly coffee, it's not overly sweet, it's not overly creamy. It's perfectly balanced all the way around. And then they added a shot of, pumpkin spice on top of it. So none of it's really overbearing. It's kind of all perfectly balanced. Definitely want to give a shout out to our buddy RD on that one. They sent us some really cool posters and shirts and stuff. So make sure you check out the Hallowed Bean if PSL Pumpkin Spice Latte is your thing. The next one is, of course, Rear Diff from our friends at Boosted. Shout out to Corey. He sent us a bunch of stuff too, but we're not going to be giving that away till the birthday party, which we're just starting to plan. So keep it tuned in for that. It's coming up in November for our 5th birthday. Can't believe it's been 5 years I've been doing this. But, they say when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Some days I love this. Some days I'm working real freaking hard. But Rear Diff is Boosted's signature seasonal flavor. It's a pumpkin pie with a graham cracker crust, and you've got that nice whipped cream custard on top. If you love you some pumpkin pie, I would definitely check out Rear Diff. And we've carried Boosted for years, but this is the first year that we're carrying Rear Diff. So make sure you come grab yourself a bottle. And the last one is from Guardian Angel Vapors out of Georgia. Shout out to Kinetic Labs. Kevin, appreciate you, bud. Now this one is a spin-off of their Baby Cakes flavor, which is a cheesecake cupcake. And we almost picked that up, but the Boost Day cake is still selling really good, so we didn't really want to mix too much of it together. But when we saw that they were coming out with pumpkin again, which is the cheesecake cupcake with a pumpkin frosting on top, we had to jump all over it. And this one, so far, has been selling the best out of all 3 of the Pumpkin Wars contestants. But it's still early. It's only been like a week and a half or 2 weeks. So you still have time to buy one and cast your vote. We are running a special right now in the store. If you buy more than one of any of these 3, for each additional bottle past the first one, you get $5 off. So if you buy one bottle, it's $24.99. If you buy 2 bottles, it's $44.99 instead of $50. If you buy 3 bottles, hang on, I'm doing the math. I think it's $60. 25, 45, 55, $65. No. Yeah. $60. So you get $10 off the regular price if you buy all 3. And they're all amazing pumpkin flavors. It's just a matter of which profile you really lean towards. Personally, I think that the pumpkin's a little bit like more what I'm feeling these days, but I've had all 3 and all 3 of them are really good. So it just kind of depends on my mood, I guess. I think the Hallowed Bean's a little bit better in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee and my Monster trying to wake up. And then the Rear Diff and the pumpkin are a little more appealing like after dinner or later in the afternoon. But you really can't go wrong with any of them. And those are also available on our website, so you can log on to shop.rvavapes.com. And we do have the coupon code for them, Pumpkin Wars. You get the same discount that you get in the store. So that's a really cool new thing that we're doing. And it's only at brick and mortar shops, so you're not going to be able to get this at any of your favorite online retailers. You got to come in the store or check out our website to get that special deal. So, doesn't look like there's any questions. Yep. Yes, the ADV does have other flavors that are not on that menu card that I showed you there. We're actually in the process of securing some of those newer flavors because we want to kind of test them out compared to some of the other stuff that we have and see if it's, in the same ballpark or if it's got a different kind of one way or another. If it's different enough, chances are you'll probably see some of them start popping up. But like I said, we haven't gotten our hands on them yet. I think I've actually got some coming with that bottle of Fritter from Sickwid. So hopefully we'll get our hands on the rest of those ADV flavors in the next week or so, and then we'll have a better idea of what you may be able to find soon at RVA Vapes. Yeah. All right. So this last little segment here, we're going to call the Lowdown with A-Town. And that's me, A-Town Chip. And today we've got a brand new product hot off the truck for you. This guy is the Nautilus AIO. And we teased it a little bit in our live that we did to promote the show tonight. But I just want to give you a quick breakdown of this guy and show you what it is, why it's so cool, and why you should pick one up. So, the Nautilus AIO, you've got a 1,000 milliamp hour battery. It's got the removable pods, but it's also the changeable coil. So, if you want to reuse the same pod, like if you stick with one flavor, all you got to do is change this coil out that screws right into the base here, and then you can keep using the same pod over and over. It does have a 4.5 milliliter juice capacity, so it's a pretty big pod system, all things considered. You do get the nice mouth cover there, so for any of you guys that work outside, landscape, contracting, any of that stuff, I know you'll like that top cap, and it actually stays on pretty well, unlike the device that we reviewed this last week. It clips in with these little clasps right here, so it's definitely fairly secure. That pod's not coming out of there unless you click these buttons. You've got your fill port right here with this little orange guy, so you can fill it up right inside there, and get a little better look at it now. In that hole right there underneath the plug, just goes right inside there like so. And don't pull this guy too hard, because I accidentally was showing somebody how this thing fills earlier, and I yanked this whole plug out. They, I think, give you an extra one in the box, so if you lose it, it's not the end of the world. But if you yank on it too far, because it's kind of a short, it's not a very long tether to it, I think I just pulled it too far, and that's why I pulled it out. But it's fairly easy to get it back in there. And then the other thing you've got on here is right here, you've got an adjustable airflow, which is really cool. And let me do this. Oh, no, I lied. It's only right there. So you can spin this ring right here with the little grippies on it, and that is your airflow adjustment. So that's pretty cool. And the way it's designed is kind of interesting, because it's got basically, it's got just kind of small gaps like all the way around it, so that the air comes in. It's going to be impossible to see on camera, but basically right here there's a tiny gap, and that's where your airflow comes in at. And it's all the way around. So that allows the airflow to come through, but it's also built into these hinges, which I think is a really cool idea. If you look on the inside of the hinges right in here, there's gaps to let the air come through. So not only are these holding your pod in place, but these are also where your airflow comes in. So you got airflow coming from both sides, which gives this thing a nice amount of airflow to it. Last but certainly not least, it's got a cool little button on there. And this thing actually takes Nautilus coils. Could that be why they called it the Nautilus AIO? Of course it is. But for those of you that don't remember, or maybe weren't vaping when the Nautilus came out, it was revolutionary for flavor. It had a nice mouth to lung draw, but it wasn't super tight like the previous generations, the CE5s and all that kind of stuff. It had a decent amount of airflow to it. And the flavor on it was oh so good. And what they've done is they've kind of redesigned the Nautilus coil a little bit with organic cotton. They've got I want to say stainless steel elements in it, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't hold me to that. But they've come out with the original 1.8 Nautilus coil, Then they've got the .7 Nautilus 2 coil. So if you wanted to run regular nicotine with that .7 coil and have a 4 milliliter tank capacity, you could certainly do that with this guy. But there's also a new Salt Nic Nautilus coil. It's still 1.8 ohms, but what they've done is they've reworked the wicking and the heating element to it, so it's completely redesigned from the bottom up. And all three of those coils will work in this Nautilus AIO. Since it's got a 1,000 milliamp hour battery, even if you're running the .7 or the 1.8, you should get almost a full day out of it, depending on how much you're using it. With the 4.5 milliliter juice capacity, you're definitely going to get, at least a half a day if you're using the .7. If you're using 1.8, you'll probably get multiple days out of this guy because it's just such a big pot. It's got the nice contoured mouthpiece to it, and it's super lightweight. It fits nicely in the hand. It's ergonomic. It feels good. It's not too heavy. This thing looks like a home diggity dong run. Like I said, we just got them in, I think, yesterday. So I haven't even put one together and hit it yet. But you may see a review of this thing coming up real soon. You never know. So that's the lowdown with A-Town on the Nautilus AIO. If it looks cool to you, make sure you pick one up. We got them on our website, shop.rvavapes.com, or you can come on down to the store and grab one from us. We'll show you how to put it together, fill it up, prime it, all that good stuff. So now, we come to that portion of the show where we got some stuff to give away. That's right, we do. We've got our drawing for the Mansion AIO. It's orange. It's beautiful. There is a $7 FDA fee associated with this because we do not give away free tobacco products. But if you saw our review of it last Saturday, then you will know tonight we are doing the live drawing for it. So we've got all of our lovely folks that participated. They liked the video, they shared the video, and they subscribed to our YouTube channel. So we've got them lined up on this randomizer list here from random.org, as you can see. And we're going to do the first one on the third flip. So that's one, as you can see. Bam. That's two, as you can see. And again, for the winner. Bam! Mad Max Vapes. Congratulations, my friend. You have just won yourself an Ego AIO Mansion Kit. So, please shoot us an email at rvavapes@gmail.com. We'll get you all set up so we can send this thing out to you ASAP. I will also post in the message board of our YouTube channel. So if you didn't see it tonight, hopefully you will see it there. You do have 48 hours to claim your prize. So please get in touch with us ASAP. Other than that, I don't really know that we have anything else to talk about. I've talked a whole lot. You guys have talked a whole lot. It's almost dinner time for me. So I'm going to get the heck out of here. But as always, we appreciate you watching. Let me double check, make sure there's no more questions here. Yes, the AIOs are, I want to say 30, 35 bucks, something like that. So they're super cheap because it's a pod system. It will work with regular nicotine in it. I would definitely check the coils though, because depending on the PG/VG you're using, some of them have bigger wicking holes than others. Obviously, the thicker the juice or the more VG it's got in its base, the bigger the wicking holes that you want. But yeah. They've got like 6 colors of them, I think. We got every color in stock, so just come on by. They may not be completely published up on the website, but I'll take care of that probably Thursday. So if you want to check like Thursday night, Friday, we should have them live on the website if they're not already up there. Cool. So, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. We're going to do this again next month. I believe it's November 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's the second Tuesday. Same time, same channel. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. Check out all the reviews that we did. We usually do a giveaway once a month. So that was for October. So the next one's going to be in a couple weeks in November. Got some really cool reviews coming up. So make sure you check them out. I think this week we've got maybe the Manto. Yeah, we've got the Rhineco Manto review this Saturday. So that's going to be a good one. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say. We do this solely for the purpose of education. Yes, there is a couple of, check out our website. This is my time away from my family. The shop's closed. I'm doing this as a public service. So please support the shop. If you're local, come by and see us. We got a ton of juices. We got a ton of selection of mods. If you're not local, you don't want to buy anything, you don't have to. We're not trying to take your money. But if you want to support us and show thanks for this series that we've been doing for almost a year at this point, we would certainly appreciate it. We do have a bunch of cool stuff on the website that you're not going to find at other places. We go out of our... God, that is really annoying me. Sorry, I've got some lint or something on my hat and it was bugging me. We strive for the best selection. We have competitive prices. It's not going to be the lowest necessarily compared to, Fast Tech or anything like that. But we employ quite a lot of people here that depend on us for food. So please support us if you can. If you can't, we understand. We appreciate you tuning in. And as always, if you want to smoke, that's your business. If you don't, you know where we're at.